All right, back on the microphones once again at a week later, and we're at Learn English 232. As you know, the original was China 232. Now we're on Learn English 232. If you're listening to the podcast, go check us out on YouTube. And we had absolutely incredible comments on the first one. I kept calling Ad on the phone saying, "Hey, did you read that comment yet?" Because I loved it. They were incredible. I think I got back to every one. So happy to read those. Very inspiring.
Yeah, I almost have to start screening my calls now. I know who it is, and did I check the latest comment from so and so? And the answer is yes, too. I loved seeing it. It was fun to see it's fun to kind of do the podcast again. And even now, it's a slightly different format with the videos. I think it adds a new, interesting layer.
It does, because not only are we going to do the dialogue, you are going to learn. Well, this is real native dialogue because it's unscripted right now. There's no script. We have no idea what we're talking about. I'm just going to put these down. They're distracting me, the papers, for now. We have no idea what we're going to talk about until we get to the dialogue, which could be a while later. And I haven't talked to Ad much today, so we're going to have a regular conversation first about whatever's going along. And some of the commenters were very thoughtful and saying stuff like, it's soothing to hear the voices again, to see it again. Could be a chilled out podcast of two brothers chatting. So I really enjoyed that. Hopefully that is what it is. So like it and share it on Facebook and subscribe and hit the bell. Ad.
Absolutely. We also liked the constructive criticism. One of the comments was, I think my face was covered from the microphone. So we're going to, I'll move out of there sometimes from time to time during the video, maybe add a bit more energy. I like it.
We used to do the podcast standing up because it sounded more energetic, maybe. I'm feeling very energetic today. This is just how I sound.
Yeah, we just played ping pong again too. Maybe that was it. And so that's part of it. Maybe that'll bring the energy, playing ping pong before the podcast and then maybe doing a podcast with the ping pong table. It's hard to say what we're going to do. That's kind of the point of this. We're just kind of getting back into it, getting creative and just seeing what we can kind of come up with on the spot.
Plus that, I think you got a bit more energy because we just had a peanut butter on rye bread sandwich because I was hungry over here, so I needed a snack with some kind of banana strawberry fruit juice and a soda water mixed. And then Ad got jealous, had to have the same thing, and now he's kind of pumped up.
I am pretty pumped. And I was just talking to Andrew before this podcast. It's funny now we're a little bit older. It's funny taking time off, maybe 10 years of a break, doing videos at this stage of life. Andrew as a kid, and it's just a different time. Now we both have houses, live a more normal life, but now we're back on the microphones. It's just kind of a hilarious thing to do, I think.
They say the more things change, the more they stay the same. It is more of a normal life, but it seems like we're going back to more of an unusual setup. But that's the cool thing. That's what feels kind of neat about it. So thanks, guys, for bringing us to this. So let's talk briefly, Ad, first about what is going on. They are slowly moving along with the vaccines here in Ontario, Canada. Our mom and dad got their first dose yesterday. I called to make sure nothing happened. They seem fine.
Yep, I think my mom sent me an email today as well, so I assume she's okay. I don't think she'd be doing that if anything was too bad. She kind of described it, if you didn't hear our last podcast, as a jab. It was very just almost like a little poke. She didn't even really feel it.
Yeah, so they're feeling fine. They're 69, both of them, so it's going down the list. We're hoping to get it soon enough. Seems to be coming along. And now we are in another weak form of a lockdown. The cases are going up here. It's getting kind of ridiculous. And they said, okay, it's Easter weekend now. today's Good Friday. People are going to gather. The cases are going up. The variants are going up. So they close gyms for the next month. But like, it's not that strict. I guess we're technically working over here, so that's fine. We're probably technically not supposed to meet up, although we haven't been going anywhere, so we definitely don't have the virus. I guess it's a lot of young people going to parties and stuff.
Although I did go to a party last weekend, but it was all outside. I haven't talked to anybody or that many people, and I felt like over a year. I think there were 20 people outside. I think that still goes along with the COVID rules, though, because actually the people hosting the party were doctors, and they already had their vaccine too. So maybe that's a good thing too.
Sounds like it was maybe slightly against the rules from what I've seen, but we're not going to dig into it too much. But honestly, we haven't been spreading it or anything. It's cold here though. We're having a couple of cold days in the beginning of April, but we had such a nice March for here. Last year it snowed up until May, but that's very unusual. So don't get too scared if you're thinking about coming to Canada. But I already have, you can't see it because it's kind of dark here, but already a bit of a tan from March. That's also unheard of in Canada.
It certainly is unheard of. And yeah, there's no snow on the ground. A lot of days have been pretty warm. And I'm wearing the shirt that I actually got out of a case of beer last year. It says patio, which is just a place to sit, in my case, outside. And I'm getting mine ready. And we'll probably do a video about that at some point too. Maybe an outdoor pod. Who knows?
Absolutely. Now, I think maybe it is time to take a peek at the dialogue. The thing about this dialogue, we've probably had some of the terms 10 years ago, way back in the day. Definitely not others, but there'll be a new spin on it, kind of updated. And to go along with the theme of today is this is literally the conversation that we did have and do have word for word, and then we'll go over it. So this is very native because this is literally what we say, So let's jump in here.
Hey, Andy, did you get the podcast ready?
No, I haven't even started.
Are you serious? You had a whole week. Why do you keep dragging your feet?
I had writer's block. Every time I sit down to write something, I keep drawing a blank.
Sounds like a lame excuse. Why don't you just jot down one of our real conversations and teach that? At least it will be authentic.
That could potentially work. I'll just need to think of one. Give me another week and I'll be good to go.
A week? Are you out of your mind? You need to quit procrastinating all the time.
It was a joke, You need to relax before you get a heart attack.
Well, I wouldn't sorry. Well, I wouldn't put it past you.
That was normally a little blip at the end from that we would take out, but now we're doing no editing. We used to make so many mistakes and get into arguments and do little edits all the time. It was kind of ridiculous. But now you're getting the real natural flow, which is probably better.
Well, yeah, it's definitely natural dialogues because, well, yeah, if we're not cutting it, it has to be pretty natural if you're talking for this long.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about the first one here. Dragging your feet. A very good one. This means to delay something that you should be doing. You're moving slowly when you should be doing something quickly. So I could say you need to finish the project or the boss will get really angry. He's already upset with you for dragging your feet all the time. So you should be doing something, but you're just not. You're just being slow. You can imagine someone's feet dragging along the ground.
Yeah, in this case, we were talking about Andy not writing the podcast and dragging his feet. He had a reason, though. He said it was writer's block, which is the next one. And that's just when an author can't think of what to write. They get stuck and just sit there staring at a blank page. And writer's block is common for even the best authors. I don't know. It doesn't really matter who it's for. Anyone can draw a blank and just not complete something, really.
anybody can get writer's block. You try to write something, you get it, but it's definitely an excuse that I made. I've been doing too much goofing around. I'm not used to thinking about a podcast every week, but it's probably good for me to think about that. So anyway, I'm not going to be making any excuses. Add drawing a blank. You just mentioned it, but it's the next one. This is when you can't remember something or think of something that you should know. So I could say, I knew that topic very well when I was studying, but I got nervous during the exam and drew a blank on that question. So you have nothing there. It's just like a blank brain. There's nothing there.
I often wonder if Andrew even started to write a podcast. Sometimes he just says he drew a blank, but I wonder if he really did sit there for hours and make a time and just somehow drew a blank. It is possible, and I know that feeling from time to time too.
Well, I was outside in the sun trying to get a bit of a March tan out in the backyard with a notebook, pen and paper, and that's what I was doing. That's where I was drawing up the podcast. It was an unusually nice and warm day, and I was out there enjoying it. Maybe I was enjoying it too much.
I was just going to say, it sounds like a pretty lame excuse, which is the next one, because I'm sure you were just enjoying the day. Why wouldn't you be? There's not that many nice days normally at this time of year, so you may as well enjoy it. So maybe it wasn't such a lame excuse after all, but it was an excuse. Maybe the excuse was lame, but the reason made sense. Anyway, lame just literally means an animal or a person who can't walk. It also describes something that is boring, weak, or pathetic. You could say, that was a really lame movie. I can't believe you liked it. Or she tells a lot of lame jokes. Usually no one laughs.
Very lame. So pathetic, boring. Yeah, those are good. So lame jokes, lame excuse, lame movie. Those are great ways to say it. Next one, jot. J-O-T. This is an informal way of saying to write something down. Like you wouldn't jot a novel if you were going to write it. This is just kind of making a quick list. So I could say I had a lot of great ideas, but I forgot to jot them down in my notebook. You just forgot to write them.
Yeah, exactly. A good term. You don't hear that sometimes, but if now you know, I guess, what something means if you're just going to jot it down, write it down quickly.
But it's common enough, and you might hear it used quickly and not know what somebody's saying. Next one. This is one of my favorite ones of the dialogue. Authentic. It means the real, true thing, not fake. Authentic. So I love that new Italian pizza restaurant. It is a little more expensive, but it's really authentic. Or authenticity, that's another form of it. Authenticity is extremely important. I would never be friends with someone who isn't authentic. So if they're fake, if they're not really themselves, then they're not authentic. They're not real. So that's bad to not be authentic.
I completely agree. So we're really trying to give an authentic dialogue here, obviously, all the time with real conversations that we don't know what we're going to say, and we just see what happens naturally and then explain it when we go along.
And I think that's why a lot of people, if you read the comments of the last video, did have so much success. And the writing is great. I mean, if you read what they're writing and believe it, which I do, so many people have improved so much over the last decade because, well, they are listening to something authentic instead of a lot of times the lessons, they're not authentic. They just sort of teach this language that's not natural. It's barely used and it gets boring and you can't fit in with native speakers that well.
Yeah, so hopefully you can fit in. To be honest, I need to work on fitting in with native speakers these days after moving back from living abroad for so long. So we might be in the same boat, to be honest.
Yes, me
Uh,
too,
uh,
especially with the pandemic.
Absolutely. Next one we have is potentially. And this means has the ability to. It might happen. You could say, I'm not sure what I'm going to do next year. I could potentially move to another country or just stay here. Who knows? So it just means it could happen. It might happen in the future.
Yeah, if it has the potential to, it might. I think in this example, which I wrote, it's probably not going to happen, but you never know. And this word potential and potentially was a recommendation from one of our listeners on the last video. They made a comment. So thank you for that. Hopefully that description made sense. And the next one is potential, which is the same word, but it's a little bit different, I suppose. So we'll just touch on the nuance there. And this means to have the ability to improve. So I could say, this is common to say, if you're looking at buying a new house, that house we looked at has a lot of potential, meaning maybe it's an older house, it's in a nice spot, like a nice area, but a lot of things are old in the house, but of course you could change them, like paint the walls, put new floors in, then the house will look really nice and new. So it has potential, it has the ability to improve if you do that to the house.
Right. Or you could say he just started playing tennis, but I can see that he has a lot of potential. You do hear this a lot in sports. When someone's young, you'll hear they have a lot of potential. That just means probably maybe they're tall, they're fast or something. They look like they could be good in the future for some reason.
Yeah, not necessarily good yet, but they will get a lot better, have a lot of potential. Next one, add good to go. This means that you're ready to do something. Very slang, but it's useful. And it could also mean that something is ready. I could say, I'm exhausted this morning. I didn't sleep at all last night. Just give me a few minutes to have my morning coffee and I'll be good to go. I will be basically ready for the day.
Absolutely. Or I'm just putting the finishing touches on my email. After that, it will be good to go. So it will be ready after I put the finishing touches on it. And yeah, you do hear this good to go. It's kind of a weird phrase, but you do hear it often in spoken English, especially.
Yeah, something is good to go, or you are going to be good to go. Next one, out of your mind. Out of your mind. That just means, are you crazy? I can't believe he's going to paint the living room pink. He is out of his mind. That would be a very bad choice. I remember in Shanghai, Ad painted his bedroom a nice light yellow, and I thought he was kind of out of his mind, but he must have had a style in mind.
I didn't really have a style in mind, and to be honest, I hate yellow, but I just thought it'd be kind of neat to paint a room yellow. It kind of brightens it up. I had an idea of making kind of a sanctuary at the time, maybe having some plants and stuff. I even put some like plants on the wall. It really didn't make a lot of sense. But the idea was that I was going to just make it kind of fun in my room and not be distracted at night, wake up feeling refreshed. I think maybe it worked. It's hard to say.
Yeah. Well, I'd had an idea in his mind and it didn't necessarily pan out. I mean, it was kind of funny. You'd have to see it, but that was just my view. I think Ad knows that in the back of his mind as well.
And not even at the back of my mind, I know it. I think it was a weird idea. And you know
Well,
what? To be honest,
no,
I'm gonna see if I can dig up some old photos. I really don't know where they are. I might have a photo of it, and it will look just ridiculous if I can find it, or at least I'll do a recreation somehow of it, maybe.
well, I've noticed Ad's current room isn't yellow. So,
Well, you know what? It's different when you rent a place too. I don't mind trying weirder stuff on a rental. I notice that you're not worried about too much. Just, yeah, sure, why not paint it yellow? we'll see what happens. Even our old office was like this really dark blue and shiny, and it was just a terrible choice, but we did it for some reason.
We probably got sick from the paint. I don't even know if that was proper indoor paint. We weren't really thinking of that kind of stuff back then, but it had a strong smell to it. It was I think that was my idea. I had an idea in my head that it'd be this dark, sort of nice blue and we'd get more serious work done, but it just ended up kind of taking a while and looking strange.
Yeah, it's funny. The only walls we actually painted were a bright yellow and a dark blue. It just sounds like, wow, these guys have really bad taste for a house.
Yeah, it does sound pretty bad, but it was a neat place. All right. Next one. We talked about this a long time ago. It's kind of like dragging your feet, but it's procrastinating. It's too good a word not to do again. It means to delay something or literally drag your feet. It's when you know you should be doing something, but you're being lazy and making excuses. So I could say he would do a lot better in school if he stopped procrastinating and just did his homework.
Right. Or you could say social media makes it so much easier to procrastinate. I remember when I was in high school, I think what made me procrastinate the most was watching TV. I even had one in my room, which was a terrible idea. I'd start watching a few bad episodes of something, and then it would be getting late, and I think, I'm tired. I want to go to bed, and I would never get to that homework.
It's just wasting time when you have something else to do. Basically, wasting time doing fun stuff or making excuses. So hopefully though, with the English studying, you are killing two birds with one stone because you can listen. It probably feels like you're procrastinating, but you're actually learning. That's the beauty. But I can certainly procrastinate by watching endless hours of videos on YouTube, or I'm not really a social media guy, but I'll read the news. I can waste enough time as it is.
I find that hard to believe, but we may as well get to the last one
Online
here.
chess is my new thing that I've been procrastinating with. I've been playing a lot of chess. Ad gets upset with me when I play it. My wife gets upset sometimes too, because if they're talking to me, they can, even if they don't see the screen, they can see that I'm playing. Ad can hear it on the phone just because I can't concentrate on anything else. They're timed games. They have you have 10 minutes to make all your moves, and if you don't make all the moves in 10 minutes, you lose, so you have to focus, but I sound like a complete zombie.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to Andrew when he's playing online chess, that's for sure. It sounds like you're not even talking to a real person.
I got in trouble yesterday doing that from my wife, who she was trying to talk about something important, and I was just right in the middle of a chess game, which probably didn't need to do at that time, but wasn't a big deal.
Interesting stuff. Okay, let's get to the last one here. Put it past you. And if you wouldn't put it past someone, it means you think they could potentially do something usually bad. And you could say something like, I know you think he won't forget his passport, but you should remind him. Honestly, I wouldn't put it past him if he forgot. So I guess he's the type of person that forgets a lot of stuff, like his passport even. Maybe they're going to the airport and he really shouldn't, but make sure, because don't put it past him. He might do this thing.
Yeah, you think someone's going to do something stupid or pathetic, and you think they actually would. So maybe they will, maybe they won't, but I wouldn't put it past them, meaning I wouldn't guarantee that he wouldn't. Double negative there, but I think you can figure that out. So that's the dialogue. I'd get rid of these papers here. I hope everybody, if you've stayed with us this far, that is great. We would love to hear feedback, anything on topics, anything you'd like us to talk about, what you think we should do. We're definitely up for ideas. We got to get some better lighting. But I kind of like this dark cave environment to start it out. It feels kind of like some underground hidden thing. So it's kind of neat. But we'll see what we could do. I asked Ad if he has a lamp, but he doesn't really somehow.
I think we put on some more light switches this time. I think Andrew's head looks a bit shinier and brighter than mine, and I will lighten it up, see what I can do in the post-game editing, see if I can spice it up a bit this time. Who knows?
Yeah, I've already written out the next dialogue too, so I won't spoil the surprise for what it is, but please let us know again what you think about this one and leave your comments, and we'll be here in a week or so, Ad, and with another good one, hopefully.
I think that sounds like a good plan because, I mean, we've already done, this is our second one now. I think once we get in the role and, the feel of it.
Get on a roll.
Yeah, that makes more sense. So that's what happens to me sometimes when I'm unscripted. I don't even use the right terms myself.
That is true, Ad. All right, well, let's wrap it up here, and we will see you next week.